All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Snider. We have with us Chaz Garraway for our interview for the Next Gen Lead virtual student leadership development program. I'm very excited to have my friend Chaz here. I first met Chaz a year ago working on the Caribbean tree planting project to plant 1 million trees across the region. I'm originally from Jamaica, so I'm helping with Jamaican, and he's helping with Bahamas, where he's originally from. And it's been great to meet somebody else who's so passionate about the region. So Chaz, please tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you're doing.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks, Stephen, for having me and for being a part of the Next Gen, this whole project that you're working on. And so, a little bit about myself. I guess I'm a senior at Dalhousie University studying civil engineering. I've been involved with climate change activism, climate action work for a while now. Involved with dealing with the Caribbean tree planting project, as you mentioned, Stephen. Dealing with trying to help others to get more involved with climate action, finding their voice, finding how they can be a part of solving this big problem that we have.
You were just sharing how you have been involved in this Caribbean tree planting project, that you're a senior in college now, and I'm really interested to learn, like, how have you found time to get all of this in with your busy schedule, and why are you so motivated to do these climate activism projects?
Right. So I think for me, the biggest thing is time management and just having a schedule, writing down everything that you have to do and really keeping to that. That I found that that's really helped me to do school and to find time to do other things. And it's weird because the more things that you start to do, the more time you have, oddly enough, because you tend to be more efficient with your time. So I find that works. And in terms of how I kind of got involved with all of this work, um, I guess I've always been involved with climate action or learning about climate change from when I was younger, but I never really knew how to get involved. I felt like I've been learning for years, reading about it, watching videos, but I didn't really know how to use the knowledge to help. So I finally decided after first year of college to find out, okay, what can I do to actually be a part of finding a solution? And so I found the Climate Reality Leadership Program led by Al Gore. And so I attended that in Los Angeles. And after that, that was a very good experience for me because it helped me to really network with other people who were thinking the same way. And that kind of spurred on everything else that I've been doing the past few years, as that's allowed me to meet so many other different types of people, to get involved by speaking at the UN, to doing this tree project, and I guess even giving me the confidence to start and do other things and do more presentations.
Yeah, yeah. I first saw you in a poster about youth activism at the United Nations for, I think it was last year's COP, or there was a 2 years ago, when they were in New York for the SDG action. So I'm really curious to know, like, what is it that's like so motivating for you? Like, why are you personally involved in this? It seems that you've been aware of the environment, you've been engaged in that. I know you're a pilot, and you were telling me earlier about how you love being in the sky and being able to see how beautiful nature is from up there. But what is it that's driving you?
So I guess there's a few things, but I think being from the Bahamas, being from a low island Caribbean country, seeing the devastation that climate change brings through hurricanes and other severe weather events, and how it's going to get worse with sea level rise and other different things as well. I think that that idea and coming to that realization that you know that this thing is happening and it's going to get worse. especially for countries like ours and even other coastal places around the world. It's just going to get worse and worse. And there's when I started to learn about it, I realized that there wasn't enough work being done, because as somebody in primary school learning about climate change for the first time, I'm thinking, why aren't there, like, why isn't it like when they went to the moon back in the 60s where everybody was working on it? I felt like we should be working on climate change like that, where everybody is focused on a different aspect of it, trying to figure it out. And I was kind of surprised that that wasn't the case. So I think that really kind of got me involved with wanting to be more part of the whole idea of finding a solution to climate change, seeing that it's such an interconnected problem with so many moving parts.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is a major problem. And what I've seen you do in your career, what I've seen you do with what you post online, in the content and in the projects that you're working on, is that you're building a lot of community, right? And like that is something we talked about, how important that's part of what's so important about this, right? Is everybody working together.
Right. Yeah. So I think community is a very big part of it. Um, and the whole idea of getting more people involved, I think, is very important, because people need to know, like, why we're talking about climate change, why we want action done. It's not just because we're trying to make noise or we want something to do. This is a very important issue, and people need to know, like, why we're putting so much effort and time into trying to solve this. And I think it's important as well for people to know that it's not just an environmentalist problem, but it's really all of us. No matter like what type of work that you do, you still have a way where you can contribute to the solution of climate change, whatever your job description or your field is. Um, and I think helping people to see that and showing people, okay, this is how you can be a part of it, or this is how you can take part, then people are like, oh wow, you're right, maybe I could do that, because I feel like a lot of the times it's not necessarily people don't want to help or they don't want to participate. It's the fact that they don't know how to start. And I think that was the biggest problem for me, and I overcame that by just googling really and finding out, okay, how can I be a part? Like, I literally googled, um how do I be a part of climate action, and I found the climate reality, like I said before. And so, part of that work, it was after, I think back in January, I hosted an event called A Sustainable Lifestyle to really educate people in the Bahamas about climate change and different aspects of it. And from there, I kind of founded a group of people and an Instagram page, a website, and all of that to help people to learn more about it and to give youth an opportunity to speak and have a voice and see how they can be a part of climate action. And I think creating that community of young people and older people alike that know about these issues and want to be a part of it is key, because I find that there's a lot of smaller groups that are working on this issue in isolation, but we need to come together and work together to solve such a big issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for the Caribbean region, right? Like we are such small little islands, but we're all facing such similar problems. So it's a real opportunity for us to sort of um, combine our efforts to make
Right.
a more impactful. So, what's some advice? Like, how would you inspire others to do what you've done? Like you gave a very great example of literally just Googling what to do. But I'm curious, like, since this is about leadership development, how do we inspire others to, they're aware of the problem, they're aware they want to help, but that next step is the hard part, right? Of getting yourself to start moving to start working on something? How do we go about doing that?
Right. Yeah. So that's a good question. Next steps are always important. I find that, like I mentioned earlier, just honestly, that's probably the easiest way to start off. Just typing in Google climate action near me or in my city or climate action in, and then fill in the blank of your city. And that's probably the easiest way, one of the easiest ways to find out how you can be a part of what's happening around you. um, but there's other ways as well. I think learning about climate change in general, reading, watching videos, because it's so interconnected and there's so many parts of it. It's not just one topic, but there's food, there's disease, there's health, there's water, there's so many different parts. And so I think maybe finding one or two that you want to learn more about, and maybe how you could contribute to that. Or if you're somebody working or in college, or you have a specific field, finding how you can contribute in your field. So maybe if you're an accountant, how you can do accounting work that relates or that helps with climate action. Or if you're um, I don't know, like an engineer, or whatever your field is, finding out, okay, how can you relate that to fighting climate change.
Yeah, yeah. How are you doing that in your life? How are you relating your personal interests to this?
Um,
I know
so
you
yeah,
mentioned you're studying engineering.
yeah, yeah. So I'm in my final year of civil engineering, and so I'm looking to probably work in mitigation and adaptation fields. Maybe something to do with green buildings, maybe coastal engineering, but it'll be something to do with climate change.
Mm,
Um, Either helping to mitigate and to help countries and places adapt as well.
really cool. What is the difference between mitigate and adapt? In case people are watching and they're not sure about this, it's very important for islands.
So mitigation is the whole idea of reducing and hopefully getting to zero the amount of emissions we emit into the atmosphere. And so we have to do that at a very fast rate, so that we can help to stop the growth of emissions, because we're still emitting more and more every year. So we first have to stop increasing and then actually start to decrease that number. So that's one side of it. And then the other side is adaptation. And so adaptation is the whole idea of we're already locked in to a certain amount of climate change effects. So we have to prepare our, like, certain areas need to do certain types of preparation. So when those effects start to really take their course, that these areas are ready for it.
Yeah.
So like they're both important. Mitigation is probably a little bit more important
Mm.
um, overall, but I would say depending on your country and your community, you could say mitigation is more important, or adaptation, depending on the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess for the Caribbean or for Bahamas, right? It's so low lying. And I know hurricanes have um, been a real problem even last year and the year before.
Right. Adaptation is a very, it's probably our main priority right now. We have to be ready for when hurricanes come, and I think that's most of the Caribbean.
Mm.
And
Very
then
cool.
I think first world countries, the rich countries of the world, they need to be focused on, okay, how do we reduce our emissions, because they produce most of the emissions worldwide. And the third world countries, or countries that aren't as rich, are experiencing the effects the worst, and they don't really have the resources to combat it. So we need to be smart and strategic about how we plan ahead, because in the next 5 to 10, 15 years are when we really going to feel some of the worst effects. So
Yeah. Man, I love the passion in your voice and how much you are bringing to the table of knowledge and helping out with this, man. Keep it up. What would you like to share with our leaders, with our participants in the program, as advice, as inspiration?
Um, I would say to honestly to read and to learn as much as you can, because getting more knowledge and more information will help you to look at things differently, to get a different perspective, to network, to meet as much people as possible, because you never know what can come out of just meeting somebody, like how I met you, Stephen. And then I think lastly, I would say to to just get involved. Like it might seem overwhelming, but just find something and just do it. Like even if it's just like starting out by learning and reading, and or like talking to your friends about climate change, because that's kind of how I started. Just talking to my friends, and they would give me feedback, or rebut me, and that would like help me to hone my facts and my what I was talking about. But I think doing those things and just going out and picking something and doing it, um, that's my advice.
That's awesome, man. I'm really proud of you, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to be coming out of your career and the impact you're going to have on Bahamas and our region and in the world. Um, we're going to sign off here, but I do want you to share how people can get in touch with you, and how they can follow the work you're doing.
Right. So my LinkedIn is my full name, Chaz Garraway. You can find us on Instagram with my name, Facebook, my name, the same thing, Chaz Garraway, and um, Instagram, the Sustainable Lifestyle. You can also find us on Facebook as well. And then my email is on my LinkedIn. So that's probably the best way to reach me.
Great, man. Well, thank you very much, Chaz, for agreeing to do this. And take care, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this interview.
All right. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks.